The Outermost House, A Year of Life on the Great Beach of Cape Cod by Henry Beston. Chapter 9, The Year at High Tide. Section 1. Had I room in this book, I should like to write a whole chapter on the sense of smell, for all my life long I have had of that sense an individual enjoyment. To my mind, we live too completely by the eye. I like a good smell, the smell of a freshly plowed field on a warm morning after a night of April rain, the clove-like aroma of our wild Cape Cod pinks, the morning perfume of lilacs showery with dew, the good reek of hot salt grass and low tide blowing from these meadows late on summer afternoons. What a stench modern civilization breathes, and how have we ever learned to endure that foul blue air? In the 17th century, the air about a city must have been much the same air as overhung a large village. Today, the town atmosphere is to be endured only by the new synthetic man. Our whole English tradition neglects smell. In English, the nose is still something of an indelicate organ, and I'm not so sure that its use is not regarded as somewhat sensual. Our literary pictures, our poetic landscapes are things to hang on the mind's wall, things for the eye. French letters are more indulgent to the nose. One can scarcely read 10 lines of any French verse without encountering the omnipresent, the inevitable parfum. And here the French are right, for though the eye is the human master sense and chief aesthetic gate, the creation of a mood or of a moment of earth poetry is a right for which other senses may be properly invoked. Of all such appeals to sensory recollection, none are more powerful, none open a wider door in the brain than an appeal to the nose. It is a sense that every lover of the elemental world ought to use, and using, enjoy. We ought to keep all senses vibrant and alive. Had we done so, we should never have built a civilization which outrages them, which so outrages them, indeed, that a vicious circle has been established and the dull sense grown duller. One reason for my love of this great beach is that, living here, I dwell in a world that has a good natural smell, that is full of keen, vivid, and interesting savors and fragrances. I have them at their best, perhaps, when hot days are dulled with a warm rain. So well do I know them, indeed, that were I blindfolded and led about the summer beach, I think I could tell on what part of it I was at any moment standing. At the ocean's very edge, the air is almost always cool, cold even, and delicately moist with surf spray and the endless dissolution of the innumerable bubbles of the foam slides. The wet sand slope beneath exhales a cool savor of mingling beach and sea, and the innermost breakers push ahead of them puffs of this fragrant air. It is a singular experience to walk this brim of ocean when the wind is blowing almost directly down the beach, but now veering a point toward the dunes, now a point toward the sea. For 20 feet, a humid and tropical exhalation of hard, wet sand encircles one, and from this one steps, as through a door, into as many yards of mid-September. In a point of time, one goes from Central America domain. Atop the broad 8-foot back of the summer bar, inland 40 feet or so from the edge of low tide, other odors wait. Here have the tides strewn a moist tableland with lumpy tangles, wisps, and matted festoons of ocean vegetation, with common seagrass, with rockweed olive green and rockweed olive brown, with the crushed and wrinkled green leaves of sea lettuce, with edible purple-red dulse and bleached sea moss, with slimy and gelatinous cords 7 and 8 feet long. In the hot noontide, they lie slowly withering, for their very substance is water, and sending an odor of ocean and vegetation into the burning air. I like this good natural savor. Sometimes a dead surf-trap fish, perhaps a dead skate curling up in the heat, adds to this odor of vegetation a faint fishy rankness. But the smell is not earth corruption, and the scavengers of the beach soon enough remove the cause. Beyond the bar and the tidal runnel farther in, the flat region I call the upper beach runs back to the shadeless bastion of the dunes. In summer, this beach is rarely covered by the tides. Here lies a hot and pleasant odor of sand. I find myself an angle of shade slanting off from a mass of wreckage still embedded in the dune. Take up a handful of the dry, bright sand, sift it slowly through my fingers, and note how the heat brings out the fine, sharp, stony smell of it. There is weed here, too, well buried in the dry sand, flotsam of last month's high full moon tides. In the shadowless glare, the topmost fronds and heart-shaped air sacs have ripened to an odd iodine orange and a blackish iodine brown. Overwhelmed thus by sand and heat, the aroma of this foliage has dissolved. Only a shower will summon it again from these crisping, strangely colored leaves. Cool breath of eastern ocean, the aroma of beach vegetation in the sun, the hot, pungent exhalation of fine sand. These mingled are the midsummer savor of the beach.